Good day, everybody.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 19 now of the Good Day podcast, and this one is brought to you from Indonesia. We're in Bali right now.
Are we sure it's episode 19?
I hope so. I think it really is, and we're really here.
Actually, yes, it is. Wow, we've been doing this a while.
Yeah, and boy, we've got a lot to talk about. There's so much stuff that happens when you're traveling in these little countries, and
yeah, this is going to be a fun one, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we left off with, we'll just hop right back into it. We were worried about our tree, right?
I don't know if we mentioned it, but so our tree, you guys have heard all about our tree that we got in Tassie.
We smuggled it across the border in Western Australia.
This is all alleged, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been really riding with us, quite literally, all the way around the country. We love it so much. It's thriving.
It had a really bad stretch because when we got it in Tassie, we didn't pot it until we got to Melbourne, like probably 2 weeks. It took us 2 weeks to put it in a pot. And so it was like dying then.
Well, it had like a little pot, right?
No, it was just in a bag.
What?
Yeah, and then we potted it, and now it's been thriving ever since then. So it's been about like 3 months we've had it, 4 months.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's
the best it's ever been.
It's
now.
like a little thicker, the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
Take that word loosely.
And it's like the leaves are growing green.
Green leaves.
But we didn't really know what to do with it when we were leaving for 2 weeks here.
Well, I said maybe we could get on the house sitters app and ask someone to watch it for us, and we could bring it to their house or a Facebook group in Darwin and say, who wants to water my plant for 2 weeks? And Kory thought I was crazy, and he was like, nah, we'll just let it sit in the car. And I suggested a self-watering system, one of those bulb things that stick out of the pots and just waters the plant itself. And he was just not about it. I think he's trying to kill our tree. So what did we end up doing?
We got a self-watering device.
No.
Yes, we got a self-watering device.
This is Kory's big dream to not go out of the way for this tree and do this. What is it?
It's a self-watering device homemade by myself. Just a water bottle with the cap stuck into. I poked a hole in the cap so it only lets a little bit of water out, and I just stuffed it in the soil. And so now it's just going to self-water itself.
We're not sure if it'll work. So thoughts and prayers for our tree because we love our tree so much. Also, the caravan park we stayed at near the airport, I think we're going to stay at it again when we return from Bali. And there are some permanent residents there. And I was like, Kory, we could bring our tree to one of the permanent residents. And he was just like, nah, let's try to kill the tree. He didn't say that, but
no, that's cap.
He didn't say that, but I really hope the tree is alive.
No, the tree is gonna be fine.
We love our tree.
Yeah, it's thriving, and maybe it just needed some space. The tree
from us.
Yeah, it needed some space from us, and it'll grow. It'll grow for sure.
Yeah.
But we got into Bali really late. Our flight is so stupid, but it was actually one of the only flights I've been on in the last 3 years that was early. Mm-hmm. They departed the gate early. They arrived
called us
early.
to the gate early. They were like, if you're on this flight, come to the gate because we're going to leave early.
Yeah, it was supposed to leave at midnight or 1 a.m. and we left at
0:30. I think it was supposed to leave.
Yeah, so we left at midnight instead, and then it was a 2.5 hour flight, and it ended up only being 2 hours. So those pilots were cooking in the air, and they got us there on time, but we're still arriving so late in Denpasar. I slept the whole time though.
Yeah, I do not know how Kory was sleeping the whole time. There were so many babies on this flight, so many, and I don't mind that, but the only one crying and having a fit was right in front of me and Kory. So
yeah,
I don't know how he slept through that.
Yeah.
And the men behind us were the largest 3 men I've ever seen on a plane.
Yeah, I think they put them in the middle to even the whole plane out.
Yeah, I don't know how they all fit next to each other. One of those men was quite literally the largest man I've ever seen in a plane seat. And they had their
double buckle, yeah.
Yeah, he had to get an extra buckle brought to him.
The buckle extension.
And all their knees were in our budget airline seat backs. So we could feel their knees kneeing our backs through this cheap, thin seat. But we got there. It was great.
Yeah.
The airport was much more built up than you would expect Bali's airport to be.
Yeah, and the people, everything is ridiculously cheap. We just needed a place to sleep until our ferry in the morning because we were heading to a small island off Bali to spend the first couple nights there. And so we found like a $18 Airbnb, and the people are just so nice here that like I don't even think we told them that it was
Well, when you book an Airbnb, a lot of the times it'll say, please message your host and tell them why you're coming. And I probably booked it and said, coming to Bali to celebrate our wedding anniversary. We'll be arriving really, really late and leaving really early. So hope that's okay. And then they stayed up till 2:20 to welcome us, a.m. And we left by like 10:30 a.m. for our ferry.
And then on the bed, they had laid out happy wedding anniversary.
Yeah, happy wedding anniversary. And we were only there for like 6 hours.
Oh, it was so funny. But just everyone here is like super, super nice, except, well, we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
But
and they love flowers. Like flowers is, we'll get into this later, a huge part of their culture. So I think it's nothing for them to write a cute little sign on the bed.
Yeah.
I love that they do that here. Southeast Asia is my favorite.
Yeah, they have really nice flowers here. But yeah, we were only there for a short time, and we had to catch a ferry to Nusa Penida, which is like just this really, I don't know, it's an hour ferry ride away from the mainland. And
it's like 45 minutes of a ferry.
It's literally Instagram land that has the most picturesque and scenic
So some of you guys may have seen like pictures or videos of Kelingking Beach, and it is the T-Rex looking mountainside, and you look down on it from a high viewpoint. And I'll post pictures of it if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So every time I've ever seen this picture, I'm like, I can't wait to go see that place in the world. I was so excited. That's half the reason we went to Nusa Penida first, instead of just like exploring mainland Bali first. We were like, we got to go see this place. And little did we know that it felt very, very, very third world here on this island off of Bali. Like the cars, I think, were only introduced recently because the roads are built for just motor scooters.
Or bicycles. I don't know when they got the technology of the motor, but I think it was fairly recently on this island.
The roads are awful. There's so many potholes. It's up and down, mountainous hills. And every time a car needs to come by, the taxis, everyone needs to move over because the cars do not fit on the road. But anyways, so we did not expect this third world feeling island that felt like the most remote place I've ever been, because it was so third world feeling. But everyone and their moms, dogs, and grandmas were on this island.
It was probably the most touristy spot I've ever been in my life.
Probably.
Definitely.
It was definitely the most touristy place I have ever seen.
It
sickens me. I will never go back. And It was the best views I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was truly shocking. That shocked me. And just the sheer amount of people in these spots. Just like usually you have to go to like even like Niagara Falls. You go there and it's like, oh yeah, there's like a lot of people, but it's not like this. There was probably, I don't even know, 10,000 people at one viewpoint, and it was just like chaotic.
Yeah.
Like the area was definitely not like up to code with like safety standards. Like they don't have the same safety standards here.
Yeah, sketchy as hike down to the beach.
Yeah.
Like we bailed halfway down, and people are taking Instagram. So basically, everyone who comes to this island knows that these views are unmatched. Like it truly was the most beautiful viewpoint I have ever seen. But I would never go back because, like, it's just awful.
Look at it online.
Like the amount of people. Yeah, look at it online. I'll post the photos. You guys can come if you want.
No,
but
don't come. It's not worth it.
It's honestly not worth it. we'll get back to the ferry ride to the island, but everyone on this island wants to be an influencer, so they're all like kicking the 10,000 people at this viewpoint out of their photo. They're like, they want their photo to look like they're the only ones on this remote island with this beautiful view. They're all standing in a line of 1,000 people waiting for their photo to get taken. They're paying people to take photos at prettier angles. This island is or Bali, and this island is a lot of paying people cash to get access to a prettier photo point of view. And literally locals were yelling at us to get out of people's photos because they were in trees taking pictures. We got yelled at to get out of so many photos just looking at the viewpoint that we were like, fine, take our photo too. It happened to be free. We were like, all right, we'll get our good photo too, because we moved out of the way for 50 people's photos.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Just the amount. It's like the tourism is there, but the infrastructure to support the tourism is not there at all. Mm-hmm. Like, and there's everyone not really in that place. There's a couple tourist spots that we went to on the mainland Bali where it's like, oh, you got to pay your entry fee. Although, well, actually, it was like this.
It was like Penida. That there, yeah.
You got to pay your parking entry fee of like.
Parking fee, entry fee. Pay to be at this viewpoint and take a photo, pay to have your photo taken, pay for the next viewpoint to have your photo taken. It's all about Instagram photos here. It's so strange. And it's like they're trying to give off the impression that no one else is on this island and that everyone is each an individual influencer where there's no one in the background of their photos. They're the first one to discover this remote place. But it's not like that. There's literally 1,000 people in line paying to have the same photo. It's very strange. Like, you could go to the Grand Canyon, take a photo. Me and Kory could stand on the edge, take a photo, and there'll be like 40 people in the background, and that's normal. No one's like, move out of the way, move out of the way. Like, this photo's just for us. Like, that's nowhere else in the world have I seen this.
Yeah, and I think just all the locals there think that every tourist is just like a way for them to make money. So just like...
They love the tourists.
Yeah, even though it's only like pennies and like only dollars and cents to us, but it's just like annoying that like, oh, you got to go walk in and pay your entry fee. Then you want to go like to this holy spot. You have to pay... You have to give your donation here, and like they're pointing at like the money basket. You got to pay this, you got to pay that. So it's just, I think they think as tourists is just like a infinite money, and they're just trying to just get that. But I don't know. It's like it's a hard balance because like all these people probably live below the poverty line and only make like $4 a day. But it's just like annoying that it's not caught up to like the level of tourism hasn't, like the infrastructure around it hasn't been caught up. So yeah, but I mean they do offer a lot of ferry rides out there, and our ferry ride out there was sketchy, gross. It was gross.
Luckily this was like, I get serious anxiety when I'm about to get on like a public ferry or something like that. But luckily I went into this one very calm and like excited, because if I had gone in nervous, it would be way worse because it wasn't a good ride. If you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so it was pretty rough out, and the wind was blowing hard, and so like they shut all the windows, which already stinks because there's like 50
stuffy.
People on there, stuffy, and like
more than 50.
No, it was probably 50 to 75 people, and just you're stuffed in below the cabin, like can't really see out of the windows that well. And
the waves were splashing up like above the windows, so
yeah, so like all the baggage on the outside, because they make you put your bag on top of the boat. It's like a kind of like a double-decker boat. The bottom's enclosed, and then the captain sits up top with a couple seats, which we didn't know there was a top level. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't offer it to you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the way out there was rough, and it was all good and dandy until the end when we were getting off, right?
Yeah, like, I thought the seats were comfy and whatever, and they're angled where you're not really, like, looking out the window. At least I was angled at, like, a weird angle that wasn't, like, your typical ferry seat. But, it was comfy, I thought, for, like, the roughness. And apparently it wasn't so comfy for everyone.
Oh, the front row, so you gotta exit the boat out of the bow, and the front row, we walk by and just throw up splattered all over the front, like wall, the front window, and the ground.
Really?
It was so disgusting. Like, why not?
Kory told me to look away, so I was like gagging and looking the other way.
Yeah, there was like 2 Chinese people sitting there, just like, and they were just sitting there.
They're just sitting. He had throw up. I saw he had throw up on his shirt.
So
it was the like
gross.
the
I'm
guy.
throw up thinking of
yeah,
it.
I don't want to even be talking about this. But they waited. They let like half the boat get off, and they waited for the guy in front of us to get finally like. They were like, "Oh, we'll get off now," and they hopped in front of the guy in front of us, and they were taking forever because they must have been like still nauseous. And the guy in front of us was literally going to throw up because he was stuck like standing next to it, and they were taking forever to get off, and he was like gagging. And I told him as soon as he had an opening to get off the boat, once they finally got out of the way, I was like, "Go!" And
Get out of here. Yeah.
I would like to thank myself for helping that man not throw up because he was not paying attention to when he had an opening to get off the boat.
Yeah. Just that boat ride was disgusting.
It was so gross.
Luckily, when we were going back, we went one way with one company and back with a different one, and Maxie Googled them, and they were like, "Oh, if you buy a beer, you can get to sit up in like the VIP top section," which was so much nicer. And
it was 9:15 a.m. and we still had to buy a beer.
Yeah, we bought a beer for like
the whole crew was drinking.
Yeah.
They were also sleeping.
It was such a good deal because it was only 50,000 rupees, which converts to about $3.
Yeah, so a couple extra bucks to sit, and no one takes this opportunity. It was just us, and then 2 girls that their like travel agency knew the owner of the boat or something.
So if you ever go to Nusa PenidaMotor, you don't need to go. By the way.
Don't go. But if you do go,
you could take the top boat.
Take the top.
Yeah.
And it was like a club vibe. So first we had to wait in the ferry terminal. I'll use that word loosely.
Just a shack.
Yeah, it was a shack, and they had karaoke, and they kept playing Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
It was so fun. And then we went to the top of the upper deck of the ferry, and it was, again, they're bumping music. We made friends with the girls near us, and they told us which beach clubs to go to in Canggu.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very easy ride back compared to the way there.
Yeah, compared to the way there. And when you get off the ferry there, there's like, even to get on the island, you have to pay a fee. So it's just, they're just trying to take advantage any way they can. And like, people are trying to sell you motor scooters. And so we actually rented one from like a more reputable company that was a little off like the ferry terminal or all the shacks on the side of the beach. And that was nice. It was fun. The roads are pretty wicked. But the roads aren't that bad. They're bad, but the worst is the cars driving on the roads. And it was a little sketchy driving with our backpacks on, but so much easier once we dropped those off at the Airbnb.
Yeah.
Which the Airbnb was in a sick spot. So one of the main tourist attractions of the island is a little town. I say that loosely because it was basically a group of maybe a dozen shacks on the beach that all sold food.
Not
beers.
even a dozen.
Yeah, maybe like 8.
A handful of beach shacks, like literally on the sand without any walls.
Yeah.
And this was the town that Google told us to stay in.
Yeah, and our Airbnb was like a 10-minute walk from there up into like the jungle, which was nice. It was like these little bungalows, had a cool beach pool, also super cheap. Just
little
like
triangle houses for $33 a night that came with breakfast.
Yeah.
Run by all these sweet ladies. They also had a massage /
parlor,
spa. It was the best. I loved it there. They had stray dogs that were so cute. That sounds gross to be like, oh, the stray dogs, but no, they are adorable.
Yeah, these were some nice looking doggos.
They're
and
all
they had,
puppies.
The people at reception had this like 3-week-old kitten, which was like the smallest cat I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely. He was so cute.
Yeah, it was an adorable little kitty. And they also at the, at this place, during the night, when our first night there was just like this absolute racket going on. And I was like, is there like a party next door? What, like, because it was kind of in like a village of other like small hotels.
Just like groups of bungalows, like these A-frame
Yeah.
cabins.
And I was like, oh, maybe one of the like bigger ones next door is doing like a big karaoke night or something like that. But then it happened again the next night and the next night. And then I think on the third or second night, I asked somebody, and we actually were walking around and we saw just like a parade of people dressed in like all white and carrying like flags and stuff. And it happened to be a Hindu ceremony of some sort. I think there was like a Hinduism holiday, and every night there was chants and singing and bells, and it was pretty cool to hear. Like I actually enjoyed it when we heard it out in the wild, but when you're just walking through the woods,
It's kind of ominous.
yeah, it was a little scary.
It's like tribal chanting and hoots and hollers.
It was pretty cool though. That was one of the cooler parts.
Yeah, I like that.
To get like, I guess, some culture of the island instead of just extreme tourism.
Yeah. And also this Airbnb, they brought us welcome drinks, and they had a restaurant where we had dinner a few times, and like I said, breakfast every morning. When we booked the Airbnb, we were looking at 2 different listings for the same place. One was Airbnb and one was like online somewhere else. And the website that was not Airbnb said that we could get it with breakfast for $50 more total. And we went with just Airbnb because we were like, oh, we hear breakfast is really cheap to go buy in Bali. So we booked with the cheaper one, and then they still included our breakfast.
Yeah, so it was pretty nice.
Yeah. It's so cheap here, but do not come.
Do not come.
No, it's beautiful if you do come. It's just be ready for the fakeness of the Instagram.
It's just like some of these areas you would need like to hike to, or like it's just kind of, they make it too easy for people to go to. And we saw online that there was a hiking trail that went to another place called Angel's Billabong and Broken Beach, which are just 2 more like really beautiful lookout points. One is like a shallow infinity pool that you used to be able to swim in, but I think some tourists got hurt, so they don't allow them to swim in there. So we started out on this hike, and online it was like, oh yeah, sometimes the path is hard to follow, and I couldn't find any trail maps anywhere except for people's heat maps on Strava. So I was like, all right, let's try and follow these people's trails. And we literally were just like starting on a trail. We started going one way, and just slowly the trail like faded out, and I was like, oh, I wonder where this goes. And eventually we were just like walking in the straight jungle.
With monkeys.
Yeah, there was monkeys like running around. I saw a small little snake that was kind of cute, but I was like, this probably isn't the way. So we had to double back and try again, double back, try again, and then eventually I was like, all right, we got to go all the way back to the start, because definitely this is not the way to go, which was provided a successful attempt. But I felt like I was an explorer, just walking through the jungle and seeing the land this way. And honestly, the hike was my favorite part of Nusa Penida. Like,
yeah, I agree. I loved our hotel.
Yeah, our hotel was really nice
and the
too.
workers.
And it was pretty funny too. I think there isn't really much trail maintenance, but there definitely was some, because like the trail was really wide, and you could obviously, someone did a good job like cutting down trees and fallen trees and stuff. And as we were walking, there's this guy with like a half scythe machete in his hand, and we're like, oh boy, let's see if we get robbed. At least in my head I was thinking that. But then
murdered. He had a machete.
But then as soon as he was like, oh, are you going to Broken Beach? You go Broken Beach?
Angel's Billabong?
Yeah. And he happened to be one of the guys maintaining the trails, and he like drew a picture on the ground of the trail
with
map.
his knife.
Yeah, and he was super nice. And we had maybe like 2 or 3 just local encounters on the island, and that weren't trying to sell you something, and those people were the nicest people ever. Like, just wanted to help you out, very smiley, they laughed, they like, I don't know, it was
they're very
refreshing.
happy people, honestly. Like, I feel really safe around them. They, instead of like the groups of men being scary on the side of the road in most countries, here, like, they'll smile at me really warmly and not in a weird way. So I feel like they're very nice people.
Yeah.
But some of them just want to take a little bit more than they should from the tourists.
Yeah, and we also got massages at our hotel, which was the first massages. Massages are so cheap here. But I don't know if we inconvenienced these two women, but they were like...
They pulled the workers out the woodwork. Like, they didn't want to... They were not
they were
ready.
Both just had this hagging cough.
Ew, it was disgusting. My lady went and put on a mask, although she was coughing way less than Kory's. Kory's lady was just coughing all over him and, like, sucking in her phlegm as she massaged him. And I kept thinking, like, oh, I'm trying to enjoy this, but, like, Kory's lady is being so loud with her sickness, and he must be miserable right now. And then we finished the massage, and Kory was like, that was great. And I was like, really? Ew, your lady was... Ugh.
Yeah, you gotta tone it out sometimes. Like, I don't know, the other places that we got massages at had like loud construction work going on, but yeah.
Well, only a few moments of it. But
yeah, Nusa Penida was good, but I would not recommend it. Wouldn't go back. I like the mainland Bali a little bit more, but this is kind of what I expected for Bali. Just very hectic, crazy chaos. But
on that hike, I want you guys to know that the end of the hike was what Kory said was Broken Beach and Angel's Billabong, which are two viewpoints. And there was about a couple thousand people at each of those that all drove there. And this one hike that goes from the most popular town on the island to those viewpoints that we did, the 1 hour hike, the only person we saw was the trail maintenance man. So Kory and I believe, and like these taxis that people are taking are just slowing and ruining the road, slowing everyone down.
Yeah.
Like, we think that in order to go to these like third world countries, you have to be more of like a traveler, an explorer. You have to be more like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right that like, I think they introduced these taxis to the island not that long ago, and it just feels like everything's too accessible for these thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are just wreaking havoc on these viewpoints.
Yeah, it's kind of like the tourists are destroying the land, and the people, the locals, just can't do anything except for to try and make money off the tourists. Which, I mean, it's like a dual-pointed sword here, where like they're probably making more money now that there's more people going there and stuff, but like, is it really worth it? Is like, are they degrading the land and making it,
or at least put the money they're making towards like better, wider roads and like,
yeah, but when you're just living on no money, like you're not gonna do those things. You're gonna just do what you want to survive, you know?
Yeah, no, I just mean like the government that's charging entry fees and stuff.
Yeah, true.
They really need to fix that island because it's really beautiful, but
not worth going.
Yeah, honestly. Anyways.
Yeah. But off the island, the ride out was really good, and they were, to get to our next spot, which is where we are now, is Canggu. We had to go from the east side of the island. It's basically like the southern part of the island is a big peninsula, so we kind of had to skirt across the peninsula going east to west to this other main poppin' part of Bali called Canggu.
A lot of surfers come here.
Yeah, it's got a really chill vibe, surfers and just really cool coffee shops, nice areas. And
so, yeah, we took like an hour and a half taxi.
Yeah, the traffic here is ridiculous. It was only 15 kilometers or about 10 miles. Took us an hour and a half to traverse that.
Yeah, and so we had to barter with the taxi guys, and they do the most savage thing. Honestly, all the salespeople here do it if it's a bartering type of sale. They go, where are you from? And you say, the U.S. And they say, oh, this taxi ride, it's $10 to you. That's a Starbucks coffee to you. And so, like, meanwhile, like, they are charging you way more than they should if you were living in Indonesia. Like, this is like a tourist price taxi ride. So you're like, oh, it's too much because, like, that's not the going rate. Like, Google says it should be a lot cheaper, even for a tourist. And then they're like, no, like, you pay more for coffee back home. Like, are you serious? You're going to complain? This is an hour taxi ride. And so they're just kind of savage like that. And then it makes you feel like, oh, you're right. Like, it is just $10.
Yeah. And, like, speaking of, like, talking to the locals, Maxie and I have a completely different way of trying to communicate to people who don't speak English.
This is a hot topic here.
Yeah, like, so I'll give you an example. So while we were waiting to check into our next Airbnb, we went and got lunch at a place that was close. And Maxie wanted to order Swedish meatballs with no side of mashed potatoes.
Okay, can I just add? So it was a coffee shop. Everything on the menu had gluten and dairy, everything. And then they had like this like heavier lunch section, and they had Swedish meatballs on there. And I was like, I don't think those have gluten or dairy, but it comes with mashed potatoes and like buttered vegetables. So I was like, I told the guy when he was asking what we wanted, I was like, I don't think I'm going to get anything. But just out of curiosity, could I have Swedish meatballs and not like the full meal? And Kory, you can take it from here.
Yeah, so basically Maxie was giving him an exhortation on what she wanted, and she was like, I don't know, would it be possible to like enjoy this meal if it was just the Swedish meatballs?
I did not say that. He's exaggerating.
Yeah, I am exaggerating, but you used a lot of words to try and ask for Swedish meatballs with no side. And, like, usually a lot of words aren't, like in my opinion, don't get the message across to, like, someone who wouldn't speak English. Like, they don't know what all these, like, in-between words mean. They just know, like, oh, the main basics, I would think, when you're ordering. So, like, my communication style, if I would try and do that, I'd be like, so, Swedish meatball, no side, just Swedish meatball, no mashed potato. And then they would understand it that way. But Maxie was like, well, would it be the same price if I got the Swedish meatballs with no side and...
Because this is like a dinner price, mind you.
Yeah, we're talking $4 or $5.
No, a little bit more.
And so she was just using too many words, and she was like, honestly, I don't really want it anymore. And that even confused him more. So she was just using so many words just to say, can I have meatballs with no sides?
Yeah, I do probably use too many words, but here's the thing.
Yeah, you could say...
Here's the thing. Kory talks to them like they're 3 years old, and it's honestly, I get secondhand embarrassed because they work with Westerners all day long. Australians run the island of Bali. Like, they learn English from these very American, Australianized people, and they're spoken to from these people that speak English. And I guarantee you, the majority of people are not speaking like Kory, so they have to they can tell the difference between Kory really dumbing it down or someone talking normal. And I want to give them the respect that I'm talking normal to them. And yes, it probably is way too many words for them to actually fully grasp what I'm asking. But I feel bad dumbing it down. I don't want them to feel dumb. And Kory talks to them ooh, rice, good.
Yeah.
Good, very good rice. And I feel like they could hear the difference in the way Kory talks to them versus anyone else who speaks English, and they probably think Kory's making fun of them, which he's not. But I don't want them to feel that way.
I think it's easier to communicate with people who don't speak English when you use general phrases and hand gestures and I don't know, more just base it down, because
imagine him rubbing his belly as he says, rice very good.
Yeah. And they'll understand what I'm saying. And if it's but if I can tell they're a better English speaker than what they are, because an example is literally the first place we went to for food on the first day we got there, I was shocked at how well one of the servers spoke English.
Yeah.
She was really good, and we were just communicating normal about food. But as soon as we asked her something that didn't have to do with...
Yeah, we asked where the ferry in that neighborhood was. She like had a panic attack.
And just like left. Didn't know how to answer and like had to go get other people to answer.
Yeah, it was crazy because she spoke perfect English about like,
food.
Oh, you guys want to sit down? Like, what do you want to have? Here's the menu. Like, can I take your order? And it sounded like Western English. It didn't sound very like broken English. And yeah, she just did not know what we were asking as soon as we changed the topic.
Yeah, and so Maxie was like, we'll see who does better, or I don't know who I said, or who said this, but we'll see who does better at communicating to locals. You can use your style, and I can use my style. And the next example that came up was when just one of those like gypsies on the street or on the beach was trying to sell Maxie a necklace. I just sat back and let Maxie do her thing.
Yeah, so she was trying to sell me these puka shell necklaces and I wanted one. And I am a really hard sell. Like, sorry to every local in Bali who's taking advantage of these tourists, because I've been to Thailand and Vietnam and like I kind of know the going rates for things down here. And I think in Bali, a lot of the Westerners will pay higher prices because like maybe they get them down a couple thousand rupees and that's a success for them bartering, but like they're getting way ripped off, and like that's fine. But I'm not gonna pay like $30 for something in Bali that I could buy for $30 at TJ Maxx and I don't have to fly home with it. Like I could just get it at home for the same exact price. If I'm gonna buy something in Bali that I could also buy at TJ Maxx, I'm gonna get it for a really good Bali deal. Otherwise, it's not worth it for me to fly to Australia with it, then fly to America with it. Like, I already have enough stuff. You guys know we have too much stuff with us in Australia. So, I love a good deal. Anyways, so this lady comes up to me and she's trying to sell me the necklace. I do very much want it. She's giving me this high price, at least high in, like, Bali numbers. And I was trying to get her down on it, but Kory thought that I didn't want it and didn't know how to say no to her. So he was just sitting silently across the table, rolling his eyes, shaking his head, turning his head away, disgusted with me.
Yeah, because in my head, I thought you were not able to say no, or you weren't like turning this lady down. So she was just lingering and lingering and lingering. But I didn't know you actually won because I have the money in my wallet.
Yeah, Kory had the money, and so I was asking him for the money, and he didn't want to give it to me because he thought that I didn't want the necklace and that I was just going to give her the money anyways for the necklace. And so she
started to curse us.
No, okay. So Kory was like, I don't have money. And she was like disgusted that he'd even say that as like some wealthy looking Westerner on the beach when she's just like a gypsy selling bracelets on the beach. So she was like, what do you mean no money? Like, the universe hears you. Like, she literally said that. And then she was like, it's good luck. It's good luck to give this to me as, like, this is my business. Like, it's good for you. It's good for me. It's good luck. I'll bless you. And then Kory was like, no money, no money. And she, like, literally was, like, muttering some type of, like, curse at him. And I was like, Kory, give her the money. I want this necklace. And he still didn't believe me. Finally, he gives her the money, and I got my necklace, whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know Max actually wanted the necklace, but...
And it sparked this whole additional conversation of how we talk to the locals, but I truly did want the necklace, and I got her down on the price to such a good price. I paid 20,000 rupees, and that is about $1.30 for this necklace, and that's very much a Bali price, so...
Yeah, and that's that, but...
And then she blessed us. So I was like, so are you going to bless us now? And then she started like doing like the sign of the cross everywhere. And she's like, bless you, bless you, bless you, bless you. But I don't know if she re-blessed Kory or not because what happened later that day to you?
Oh, well, I think it was the next day. But we went to go get massages. Long story short, we have a really good Airbnb because someone canceled last minute because they're doing construction next door. So we were able to get this beautiful Airbnb that's like close to everything, and also another affordable price.
Really close to the beach. It's not in like the mess of the city centers, but it's close to the city centers.
Yeah, it's very quiet.
Like, I would pick this Airbnb 1,000 times over.
Yeah, and
it's beautiful.
It has like a full kitchen and everything. So we went to the grocery store and we're like, oh, well, when we were looking before we got checked in, we wanted to get a massage. And so after we checked in, we were still walking around and seeing if anyone had any like availability for a foot massage. And so we find a place. We eventually we were walking to the grocery store and we're like, oh, here's a massage place. Let's see if they have foot massages. And basically we got distracted by foot massages while we were on the way to a grocery store, which was pretty funny.
60-minute foot rubs.
Yep, for $8.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
So good.
But the next day we were like, oh, let's go back.
For like body massages.
Yeah, and just since everything's so cheap out here, I was like, I've never gotten a hot stone massage. Let me just give that a go. And I was like, oh, I'd probably like be a good opportunity to try things that are so cheap, because if you wanted to get a massage in the States, it'd be like $100.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let's see what this is about. And started out really well. The stones weren't that hot, and like basically they rub you with the stones and then they leave them in like certain areas and they're just warm. But 2 stones, boy, they were in the cooker for a little too long, and that it just like, it didn't burn me, but it definitely left red marks.
I mean, it burnt you.
It did burn me, yeah.
And side note, I put up a funny Instagram story of his burns, and Kory's family was very concerned about it.
No, I'm like fine now.
He's very much fine, guys.
It wasn't like physical burns. It was just like red. They definitely were a little too hot.
Yeah,
it didn't like burn my skin. You know how if you get burnt by like a hot pan.
Well, it wasn't like a 3rd-degree burn.
Yeah, but like,
it was a burn.
You know when your skin like bubbles up after like you touch a hot pan or something like that? And that didn't happen at all. It was just like.
Okay, they definitely
close.
burnt him, but
yeah.
You guys don't need to worry about him. He's fine.
And then we were.
Well,
yeah, I'm fine. But then we were like just walking around after this massage, trying to find like some place to eat or something like that. And I like stood on the side of the road, and I like looked down, and I think something like just looking at my Google Maps, and I'm like, oh, is something like biting my leg? What is that? And I looked down, and there was a Hindu offering that had an incense that was sticking into right at my ankle. And I was like, oh my God. And that actually burnt me worse than any of the other stones burnt me. I'm just looking at it now. But I'm also fine now. But that one hurt so bad.
And in my head, like as soon as that happened, I was like, this is literally because the lady cursed him because he wouldn't pay for my necklace. There are Hindu offerings in front of every single business, every single house, every single restaurant, shop, whatever. There is a little basket on the sidewalk. There's barely even a sidewalk in Bali. It's like so skinny, and sometimes there's no sidewalk, and sometimes it's like a river you have to walk around of just disgusting polluted water. But there will be offerings in front of every single building, every little shop in that building with different flowers, sometimes a Ritz cracker, sometimes an incense burning, sticking up, and they're all in a basket made of like a palm.
Yeah, and we were talking to one of the guys or a person we met who was living here, and he's like, yeah, no wonder why nothing gets done. They literally spend all their time making these offerings every day, I think in the mornings and evenings. So it takes a lot of dedication and work. And
they're beautiful offerings. They're all on the ground, and you have to avoid stepping on them because you don't want to get cursed by like Ganesh.
Yeah.
But Kory got burnt by one.
Yeah, so it's definitely the lady cursing me, but now I got blessed by the holy water at a different spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another like experience like that we thought was like part of the culture was there was one restaurant we went to, and
our taxi driver told us to go there.
Yeah,
for local food.
There's really good local food you should try here. And at the entrance, it was like, oh, please. Well, a lot of the areas around here, they don't like the locals don't wear their shoes inside, which I think is like pretty traditional in a lot of Asian cultures not to wear shoes inside.
Sorry, I'm laughing at what you're gonna say.
And so we walk up to the restaurant, and it said, oh, please wash your hands before coming in. And we're like, oh, I wonder if this is like...
There was a full-on sink outside, like a fancy, like, Hindu sink.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, wow, this is pretty neat. Maybe it's just like a cleansing of your hands before you like...
A cultural experience.
Yeah, and then we turn around and look like at the door, and then it was like, please sanitize your hands, COVID-19.
So we were washing our hands thinking we were respecting the culture. But no, it was just some lingering COVID.
Yeah, COVID restrictions, which is pretty funny to see.
And then the waitress there at the end of the meal, she was trying to sell us on dessert. Kory bought.
Banana crepes.
I was like, oh, do you have any gluten-free desserts? And she was like, are you gluten?
Yeah, I feel like that's such a funny way of saying, are you gluten-free? Are you gluten?
Are you gluten? So you guys know I like to eat gluten-free because, well, a lot of you know, because I get really itchy. So I'm allergic, but I will try to avoid it best I can without asking questions. And if I ate gluten that night, she had no need to panic. I will just itch my way out of the situation.
Yeah, and also that day, I think I got a compliment that made Maxie really jealous.
Yeah.
So we were walking on the beach, and there's a ton of people trying to sell you like surf lessons and just like...
Like I was wearing a skirt, no bathing suit at all.
Yeah.
And they're like, surf lessons?
Yeah, you want to go surf? Well, we'll go surf. Let's go.
Sorry, sir.
And like they just walk beside you, just telling you, oh, like... you can sit here, enjoy a pina colada, sit here and surf lessons. And then one guy
beach chair
was like, where are you guys from? And I was like, oh, take a guess. And he was like, oh, you're Italian.
No, you didn't even say take a guess. He was like, where are you from? Italy?
Yeah.
And he was talking to Kory.
So the locals think I'm Italian, and they didn't say Maxie was from Italy.
Yeah, I mean... people really think you're very ethnic.
I know. Last time, people thought I was from Argentina.
Yeah, you have that dark olive skin and dark hair.
Yeah, and then another guy was like, oh, you look European.
Yeah.
When I told him I was from America, I was at
on
Nusa
the
PenidaMotor.
sketchy steps down to kelingking beach.
And he was like, oh, you look European. So maybe it's just my long hair coming in. My European roots are coming out.
But you're like Northern European. You're not even like Italian or
Hungarian, Czechoslovakian, Irish, Polish.
Yeah, so like the very white Europe. But for some reason you don't look that way.
Yeah. So I think that was pretty much it for.
Yeah.
The burns, and then...
we were able to celebrate the Father's Day 5-mile Brantford road race by doing our own little run here.
Yeah, but the roads are just they do not condone running. And...
not even walking, guys.
Yeah, so it's like...
so we tried. I freestyled the route. Kory had a route planned, and he wanted to run faster, but it's so hot, so humid here, I couldn't do it. So I just ran where I wanted to go, and then Kory ended up following me, probably to keep me safe. And we hit 5 miles going really slow.
Yeah, it was good keeping the tradition alive. I think I'm like at 7 years in a row or something like that now for the Father's Day 5 mile.
I think Kory should give it another go, maybe if we find a safer area to run, because he could run a lot faster than what we did.
Yeah, and was that the same day we did the coffee tasting?
Yeah, we did that after.
Yeah, so... like, I think Java is the island next to us, just to our west, and they're known for their coffee, and so is Bali. So I wanted to do a coffee tasting, and this place was the #1 reviewed place on like TripAdvisor, Google Maps, and just had the best rating. So we went there. Slightly disappointed to start just because the dude didn't speak that well of English, so like impossible to understand them. But the more we sat there, the more we like tried to communicate. Like the coworkers were like laughing with us and him.
They're laughing at him because he didn't understand anything. Like Kory asked him how long he's been a barista for, and he said 31 years. And I was like, this guy does not look like he could be older than that.
Yeah.
So I said, how old are you? and he did not know what that meant, and his coworkers were hysterically laughing. I don't know why, if they knew English so much better than him, why he was doing our coffee tasting. Yeah. We learned very little from that coffee tasting, but we tasted good coffee.
Yeah.
But then we made friends with all the other coworkers, and they were giving us local recommendations. And they had this homemade cashew milk that he made us a latte at the end with, and it was amazing.
Yeah, that was quite delicious.
Blacklist Coffee Roasters in Canggu.
Yeah, but then at the end of the coffee tour, they're like, if you want 25% off, review us on Google and TripAdvisor. So that's probably why they had such good reviews, is because they give you the discount after the coffee tasting.
Yeah, we're suckers. Kory was like, all the reviews point to this place.
Yeah. But they just have the best, like, Google reviewing scheme.
Yeah. Good for them.
But another thing we did, or we wanted to do, the area is known for, like, these, like, cool, like, beach clubs that are right on the water with pools, and it's, like, a very, like...
You go there for sunset.
Yeah, it's like, you go there, view the sunset, get some food and stuff, and... a lot of them have mixed reviews on Google, being like, oh, this one's good, this one's bad. They're kind of all the same, I think.
So the bougie ladies we met on the ferry back from Nusa Penida, they told us the top 3. They were like, La Brisa, The Lawn, Finns. Go to one of those places for sunset. So we happen to be living right near Finns, in another beach club called View. So we went to Finns. And that was fun. I think we got there around like 2:30 maybe.
Yeah, we walked around. So like you can buy lawn chairs to rent for the whole day, and like they were sold out. So you could either get on the wait list or you could sit in like the bar area. And we actually found super nice seats that luckily opened up, like as we were walking around trying to, like almost we were about to leave to go to another one.
Yeah, we were about to leave.
And then these 2 seats opened up at this bar that was just absolutely perfect.
Like comfy seats.
Yeah.
So, right against the ocean, looking at the sunset. It was like the best seats that could have opened up.
Yeah, and so we sat there for a while, had some food, really good sushi there. And eventually the sun was like going down. It wasn't the best sunset, but it was pretty.
Yeah.
And there was this family that had a little baby behind us.
On one of like the expensive couch seats.
Yeah, it was definitely an upgrade and you had to pay for it. But they went up to us and they were like, hey, we're leaving. We have this book for the entire night. You guys can sit here. And we're like, awesome. We're just about to leave anyway, but we'll spend some time here. Mm-hmm. And so we just move. Somebody instantly takes our seats that we move out of because they were good seats.
Yeah, although the sun had already gone down basically.
Yeah, and... probably we sit there for a minute, 2 minutes maybe, and one of the manager, not even a manager, just a server comes up to us and he's like, oh, sorry, you have to pay to sit here. And then we were just like, no, those are our friends. They're coming back, just like lying to the dude.
Yeah, and those people told us we paid to have this couch the whole night, so feel free and take it. It's already paid for the whole night. Yeah. And so we were like, no, like it's paid for, it's good. And they're like, nope, if someone leaves, you have to repay for it. And meanwhile, like people come here for sunset, the sun is already down. Like how are you going to try to resell us this couch? Like people are going to start leaving right now. Yeah. But he insisted that we go pay, and Kory was like, no, those are our friends. They're still here. They're in the pool. And the guy was just like not having it. And I was like, can we pay you? Like, what's the deal, guy? Like, everyone begs for money in this country. Like, can we just pay you? Like, you're not the boss. You're just a worker. And he was like, nope. And he kept coming back up to us because...
No, and I was like, no, those are our friends. They're coming back. And he's like, okay, I'll go check the system. And I was like, yeah, go check the system. But it'll say...
No one reports that they're leaving, so whatever his system was going to say, I have no idea.
Yeah, but...
Because every single time you order something, you have to pay for it. It's not like you have... I mean, maybe they had a tap. I don't know. But everyone around us was tapping their card for every little drink they ordered.
But we spent probably 10 minutes there, and then... He came over like 4 times and was like, you guys got to go. And then eventually they're like, whatever, let's just head back. We've seen the sunset. We've got our food. Let's head out. Yeah. But it was kind of funny seeing that guy like struggle.
And then we'd see him taking people's orders like the good server he was. No, terrible service there. But Like, he was not a boss by any means, and he cared so much about trying to resell this couch for no incentive because this is not a tip-based country.
Yeah. But that it was what it was. And Finn's was fun, and like, kind of basing a lot of things on Google reviews, and I'd say that was accurate with the reviews. Like, some good stuff, some bad stuff, pretty areas, and
The pool was super fun.
pool was fun. It was like a good vibes there. And another place that had really good reviews was this coffee shop that I thought was much bigger, but it was just kind of like a bar. It was called a brew bar, and it was basically built into like a 7-generation family's home that was a temple surrounded by like 4 or 5 different little temples. And it was much smaller than I expected it to be. But really good coffee, and we sat there, and there was this guy who was like, what did he say to us when we first arrived? He was like, I'll let the newbies sit here.
Yeah, he didn't say it to us. He said it to the other people that clearly go every single day to this coffee shop. He was like, I'll move so the newbies can sit with the good view, looking out at the temple.
Temple, little waterfall, and it was just really nice. And he had like an American flag on his shirt, and I was like, oh, I didn't really hear his accent. I wonder where he's from. And I asked him if he was from America, and it's funny how just like little questions lead into such long conversations if people want to talk, but like if they don't want to talk, then nothing happens. And this guy definitely wanted to talk.
He was the nicest man ever.
He was so nice. He seemed really well off too. He like opened hundreds of different curves. Fitness.
Like the women's fitness centers that used to be a big thing. So his name,
Brenden McQueen.
Brenden McQueen. He's from England, and his wife's American, so that's why he had the big American flag on his breast pocket.
But it was really cool. I mean, the people. It's actually. I don't think we've talked to someone who spoke English in a while, so it was like really refreshing just to have a conversation with someone who wanted to talk and learn about it.
He was telling us like all like the good and bad things of like living in Bali, because he's living in Bali now with his family, and he lived in Japan and China, and he was like telling us all the like inner dramas of like all these countries, and how it's not so glamorous and how it is glamorous here and there. Like, he was such a cool guy, and he told us to do so many things. He's like, go to Crate Cafe for breakfast, go to Tiz Cafe when you get to Ubud, go to Sa Mesa for your anniversary dinner in Canggu. So he told us about this restaurant, Sa Mesa, and we ended up trying to book that night, like right after he told us that. He was like, they'll do something special if it's your anniversary, and it's like a big group dinner where you all sit at like one big table and you make friends.
Yeah. I think the motto is like, come as strangers, leave as friends. And we went that same night. We were the last 2 people to get in, and it was a fully booked like 45-person dinner. And it was funny. We getting there, we sat next to the first 2 other people there were 2 guys from Singapore, and then all of a sudden the rest of the group, we were at a smaller table. I guess like there was a lot of big groups that they put on like the main table, which had like 40 people, and our table had about 12 12 people, 10 people.
10 and 32 at the other big table.
So we were sitting with all Singaporeans, and they were like, yeah, we probably know each other, so we don't really want to talk to them.
They were like, we definitely had mutual friends just because it's such a small country, and they were like disgusted. Our original 2 friends sitting there were disgusted that the rest of the table, literally the rest of the table, ended up being all Singaporeans. And anyways, they told us that they booked 3 weeks in advance for that dinner, and they still like got sat at this separate 10-person table. And Kory and I were the last 2 available to book at that restaurant. They told us they only had 2 openings, and it was at the one that our friend Brenden told us to go to, because there's 2 locations, and he was like, go to the Seminyak one, good vibes. And they had 2 spots for us. It was perfect.
Yeah. And it was so fun. I mean, like, kind of hard to communicate to people. Well, actually, no, it was fun. The music was really loud, and
it was like a big dance party.
Oh, at the end, it was just like people were dancing on tables, and it was just probably one of the wildest Monday night outings.
Yeah, it was 20-something shared plates. They brought me all my individual gluten-free, dairy-free meals, and then like everyone else was sharing. I'm sure there was other dietary restrictions at the big table, but I was the only one at the small table. And you just share with everyone and you make friends, and then there's an intermission and there's a happy hour and there's a conga line and
yeah, it was
dancing
wild.
on the big table.
Definitely like a place to go if you want to like meet friends. But I think
too many groups.
Yeah, so a lot of people came in groups of like 5, 6, 8 people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that shouldn't be allowed at a place where you're going to try like to make friends with other people. But I guess as a group outing, it would be really fun. And
yeah, the other 6 Singaporeans that sat with us, they came a little bit after. They like didn't even talk to us in the beginning, or the other 2 guys. And I was like, people shouldn't come here in groups. Like, the motto is come as strangers, leave as friends. Like, groups of 2 are good.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. Like, the concept is so much fun. They should have more of these restaurants everywhere.
Yeah, it was really neat. And another place that the guy Brenden told us to go to was, he was like, oh, I'll go to PenidaMotor Lot for sunset. But it was just one of those other places where it's like, oh, you got to pay your entry fee. And then, well, we had to take a cab ride over there. And just like the cab driver's trying to scam you, like...
Yeah, he's like, I'll wait for you in the parking lot because you can't get a taxi ride home from this place. Like, no, like, you just can't get a taxi ride, so I'll wait for you, and I'll take you back.
Yeah.
And so
he's like, how much you pay me for this? And the ride there was about
$69,000.
Yeah, so that equates to $4 US. And then he was trying to charge us triple the price on the way back. He's like, oh, I wait here, you pay me for my time, I wait and I bring you back, you give me $300,000.
Yeah, and we ended up agreeing on a price.
Yeah, we're like, we'll give you $100,000, buddy, but not, which is only about $8 US. No, not even $6 US. And then he's like, all right, give me your WhatsApp. And then he texts Maxie like 20 minutes later. He's
not even like 10 minutes later.
He's like, I left.
He's like, I'm already back home.
Yeah.
Such a scam artist. And he was trying to convince us to pay for a full day of like touring around Ubud, which is the neighborhood we're going to later. He was like, I'll tour you and your friend around all day from 9 to 5 or 8 a.m. to 5, and you pay me this. And we were like, cool, that sounds like we might consider that. And then, so he was texting me and he was like, sorry, I left. And I was like, are you coming back? And he said, no. And I said, oh, we were going to book you for Ubud. And he said, okay, tomorrow. And I was like, no, thank you. And like, people are just always trying to make money, but like, he like screwed us.
Yeah. And just more like people, we said it a little earlier, but like you have to pay for everything. There was like this holy snake that you can pet, but you got to pay.
Yeah,
you can go to the temple to get like blessed by the Hindu monks, but you got to pay.
But we had to pay for it because Kory needed to like get his karma right after the necklace incident.
Yeah, so my karma's back on track after I got this Hindu blessing and they put like rice on my forehead.
Yeah, but like we already paid to like enter the place, and like it was a really cool temple. You had to walk across the ocean waves to like get to the island temple, but we didn't touch the snake. It was just too many things to opt into with money.
Yeah, but this place was one of the wildest coffee shops I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, the coffee shop's there.
Yeah. So there's a special type of coffee called Luwak coffee, which is basically these like lemur animals eat the coffee and their digestive tract, they eat the coffee beans. They like poop out the beans, and then that's how it's collected.
Yeah, because they like the best tasting beans.
So they like select the best beans, and then they're harvested through these animals' poop, which is like crazy to think about. But that's what they were offering here. And we walk by, and we're like, oh, look, they have the stuffed animals of the type of the Luwak animals that harvest the coffee. And then I see one move. I'm like, do they have 4 of these animals just chilling here? And I'm like, oh, we gotta get coffee here, this is so cool.
Like these big dog things.
Yeah.
They look like cats more.
Like lemurs.
Yeah. And I thought they were taxidermied.
Yeah.
And nope, they were just real, and they're chilling in the coffee shop, sleeping and like walking around, and they encourage you to pet them. Yeah,
they're like, oh, they're very friendly, pet them. So I bought a coffee from them, and then we sit down, and I look to my right, and there's just these 2 massive bats. I'm like, this is how the next plague starts, through these like just crazy bats that are just eating mangoes right next to us, and the guy's feeding them
with his bare hands, feeding the bats with the most disgusting wings. They kept opening their wings as they were hanging there, like 5 feet wide. So gross.
Yeah, but just pretty crazy. You could just do whatever here, and it's just funny.
Everything feels like unsafe, and the moped Uber rides are sketch.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're just having a blast. Like, riding the mopeds around Bali and Nusa Penida, like, I feel so youthful and crazy and fun, and I'm very happy we are doing this right now instead of like waiting till we're like 45 to come to Bali.
Yeah.
And it just feels more right to be on a motor scooter at 26, living our best life. Not a care in the world, but it's just so crazy down here.
Yeah, so hopefully it's going to be a little more chill up in the mood. And that's where we're heading to next right now. And
yeah. Quick note, we went to Crate Cafe, where Brenden told us to go to, in Canggu. Super cool cafe with plenty of gluten-free, dairy-free things and really good smoothies. But we met this, it's also like open seating where you sit with strangers, but it's not the same concept as the dinner. But this man sat across from us, and he said he's been living here. He's from the Netherlands. He's been living here as like a surfer for 7 months. And he just randomly kind of shared that he was driving his moped 90 kilometers during the day and hit a local, and just kind of like brushed over that. And we were like,
I don't think he hit a local like person. He just hit another scooter.
yeah. But I don't know. It was just like the way he was talking about it. I was like, I am very uneasy right now. That was just like an hour ago.
Yeah. Oh, and a quick note. Everyone here, since they don't know English well, they're like, "What's up, brother? How are you, brother?"
Brother, excuse me, brother.
So we
Brother,
think,
you need a taxi?
yeah, we think when Gabe, Cole, and Johnny came down here, Cole is a big user of the word brother.
This is Kory's roommates from college.
Yeah. So I think Cole, and that was like 5 years ago. They came out here. Cole maybe 6. So I think he like just started saying brother to everyone, and they loved it. So now everyone says, "Brother, can you get a ride, brother?"
We're very fascinated by it because, like, Australians run the tourism here,
Bro.
basically, and they say mate, but the Indonesians do not say mate. They say brother, and that's so American of them.
Yeah.
Or very Cole Walters of them.
Yeah.
Brother! Well, everyone, anything else, Kory?
No, I think that's it. Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode. It was pretty jam-packed with fun stuff, and I think we're going to do either a short episode with Tess coming up, because Tess is coming to visit us in Ubud in a couple days. So maybe we'll get a new special guest on the podcast.
Or maybe a segment for the next longer episode.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. But I want to leave you with, have a good day, brother.
Have a good day.